So the chassis is now assembled. It's got the tyres on it. Again, I've put the wide wheels on just for now, just to see how it sits on the body shell. Body shell is now finished. You can see I have a little driver, fire extinguisher, seat and stuff inside. I've got the little rubber mounts. One of them slightly started to split, but it shouldn't go anywhere when I've got the screws in. Again, I've just used a little bit of hot glue to hold that in, and I've screwed the bit at the back of the body in just with those two little screws there. It's ready to go. Something I did notice though is where the seat post comes through the interior, you don't want that to stick through the interior too far, because I think it will catch on the motor. So I've trimmed it off as far as I can and got it as smooth as I possibly can underneath, because if that catches on the motor, then it will lift the body shell in the air. So now it's time to fit the body shell and see how the whole car sits. So I've got one screw in, and it looks like the good thing about these, again, these little rubber spacers. I've seen people use O-rings before, so little silicone O-rings that act as little spacers between the body and the chassis to use as dampening. But a good thing is when you put the screw in and you push it down, it does help to hold the screw in place while you get your screwdriver on it and run it into those threaded inserts. So you haven't got to worry so much about cross-threading the body shell all the time or taking it on and off, because it has those threaded inserts. Now I'm just screwing those down, not very tight, but just so I can feel them starting to squash the rubber a fraction. I don't want to do them too tight, because obviously then I'm taking away any of the damping properties that the rubber is likely to have. So I'll carry on and I'll put all 4 screws in. What I did notice is that the back of the body was slightly spread out a little bit, and I had to squeeze it in a little bit to get it to line up with the holes in the pan section. But I'll carry on with the other screws and we'll be back in a minute. So body shell is on, in place, screwed in, so just lightly screwed at the moment. I'm thinking I might put a bit of tape over these screws so they don't fall out. I don't know if that's going to be allowed in the rules or not. If it's not, then obviously I'll have to tighten them up a little bit more and take the tape off. But we'll see what happens with the rules and see what I'm allowed to do. Body's on, as I say, it sits quite nicely. If I put that on the block there, you can see how it sits on the front. Like that, fairly low. I mean, there's quite a lot of clearance under the chassis, but the body does seem to sit much lower than the chassis. If you look at it around the edges, look, see how much it hangs down below the chassis all the way around. So I don't quite know why RevoSlot did that. Why didn't they make the chassis a bit lower in the first place? I've seen people that have milled these pan sections a little bit more so that the pan section sits lower in regards to the center section. There's all sorts of things that people have done to them, but say the rules are fairly simple, I think, at RevoSlot, and you're not really allowed to do much, hence why I've just pretty much assembled it as it should be. They do insist that you put wheel centers in, so I've painted them black, and I'm going to pop the wheel centers in into the front wheels, but I don't quite know which tyres I'm going to use at the back yet, so I'm going to leave my wheel centers out on the back of the car until I know which tyres I'm going to use for the race. The wheel centers are now popped in, and to be honest, they do make the car look a lot better when you compare it side to side, front to back. Yeah, those wheel centers do make the car look a lot better. I think choosing black wheels was a good move. But that's ready to race now, so I'm going to look forward to going to the RevoSlot Club tonight and giving it a good race and seeing what happens. I've got my other set of tyres to take with me, and I've got my spring for my guide and other little bits and spares of pieces just to try out, see if it makes any difference. Hopefully I'll get to learn from the locals what they are doing and get round the track half decently. Let's see what happens. Bye.